I am doing great. How are you guys doing? It was great to see both of you last night. We talked after the game. You're stuffing yourself with pizza. I'm not a fan of that pizza, by the way. It's terrible. It's so bad.
That was breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me, so I had to have one.
I did the In-N-Out run at midnight. That's sometimes my post-game tradition after these night games.
Yeah. So the three of us were talking, and the conversation was Josh Dobbs and Jacob Cowing, and that play in particular, David. I know you were writing about the 49er rookies and Malik Mustafa, Renardo Green had some good moments last night's game. But I want to start with Cowing and just what it means, the way he played last night, and the 4.38 speed, that jet sweep was really impressive going out left, the ability to return punts. But I know you're going to break down or already have the pump and go with Josh Dobbs and that 38-yarder right before halftime. Dobbs sold it nice with the pump, and it was a double move, and Cowing ran a beautiful route, stayed in bounds, and made a tough catch with the ball actually towards the inside shoulder, not the outside shoulder.
Well, out of every wide receiver at the Combine this year, Jacob Cowing hit the fastest speed in the first 5 yards of his 40. He hit over 15 miles an hour within 5 yards of his 40-yard dash. So this guy's got really, really good acceleration. You saw it on the jet sweep, but I think it's perfect for a route like the pump and go, because a couple steps of hesitation for the defensive back, and Cowing could develop that separation. The way I look at him is they had Ray McLeod the last couple years, and Ray was really fast, but I think Cowing might have just a little bit more burst, and he definitely has a fuller frame, which might give him some more adaptability in that gadget role that they have offensively. But at the end of the day, the main thing for this receiver room, if you're going to make that 53-man roster, and I think they're going to carry 6, the main thing is special teams adaptability. And what we saw yesterday from Cowing, 2 different punters for the Saints. One was the left-footed punter. One was a right-footed punter. Greg, I think you mentioned it. It was windy yesterday. Everybody knows August in the Bay Area, right at dusk, it gets windy. It wasn't an easy day to field punts. And Cowing looked really comfortable back there. And I think that Kyle Shanahan thought that Cowing looked really comfortable back there. So if he can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, give the 49ers a nice high-floor punt returner, and also be that gadget guy, that's a spot on the 53-man roster. And what that does, too, is it opens up a spot for somebody like Chris Conley, who also has big-time special teams adaptability. We saw the work he did as a gunner in the Super Bowl. That opens up a spot for him to be on the 53-man. Plus, he's a great X backup for Brandon Ayuk. So I think that the 49ers' ideal receiving room, barring injuries or trades or whatever, is Ayuk, Samuel, Jennings, Pearsall, Cowing, and Conley. And I think that really started to crystallize last night.
What's your sense, David, as to, because I'm with you, I think it comes down to can Cowing field punts? Can he return punts? What's your sense for just how comfortable he is and how comfortable Kyle Shanahan is in having him do it in a real game?
My sense from Shanahan yesterday was that he's been really impressed. I've tracked this closely throughout the entire offseason. The rookie minicamp, Conley dropped a couple punts. Like right after he got drafted, they're just kind of fooling around on the field. It's not the most serious practice, that first rookie minicamp practice. It's kind of just like getting guys acclimated. It's an orientation in the building. I haven't seen him struggle with a punt since then, and they've been doing some more creative stuff. They do some of the juggling stuff. It's interesting. They'll have the jugs machine send the punt up, and then the returner is already holding a football, and he has to toss that football up in the air as the punt is coming down. So then he has to one-hand the punt that's coming down, and then he grabs the ball that he tossed up in the air. It's a lot of focus drills, and Cowing seems to have handled those fine based on what I'm watching. And you could also, Trent Taylor didn't muff a single punt in his first stint with the 49ers. He's on the team right now. I've always thought ever since they signed Trent Taylor, since he's a high-floor punt return guy, it'd be a perfect player to keep in the building on the practice squad. And you could call him up a couple times. If you're not fully comfortable early in the season with Jacob Cowing, then Trent Taylor could be your activation of the practice squad just to field punts for any particular game. So I think that they like the direction Cowing's going in at punt returner, but they also have some other options right now if they need more time to ease him into that role.
And Kyle said as much. He didn't mention Trent Taylor by name, but he did mention a veteran on the practice squad. You feel comfortable elevating those guys Saturday to be up on the game day roster. They can go out and play. JD and I were going through it, and I think you identified the six. So that means Ronnie Bell gets cut, Danny Gray gets cut. Is that the way you see it, David?
I think you would have to see something really significant from both of those players before the cut down to justify a 53-man roster spot for them. I think Bell has been bobbling a lot of passes. To his credit, he's made some tough catches in the training camp, but I mean, in general, yesterday, I think, especially when Purdy was in early in that game, separation was an issue against the first-team defense of the Saints. So you want to see more separation, more catchability. Even Gray's catch from Mordecai there at the end bounced off his hands, and he had to catch the ricochet. So this is not an easy roster to make, and you have to, I think, do something special to earn a spot on it. And I think Cowing has shown some of that. Conley has shown some of that in both camp and last year in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, what he did at gunner. So these guys have carved out spots for themselves, and somebody like Bell, somebody like Danny Gray, they still have to carve out a spot for themselves if they're going to be on the 53-man.
David, what's your assessment of where things stand as far as the backup quarterback? What did Joshua Dobbs close the gap last night? How do you see Dobbs and Brandon Allen right now through 2 preseason games?
Yeah, I'm growing more and more fond of the idea of keeping all 3 on the 53. I know we talked about this last night, but when I rewatch this game, everybody's going to be talking about Dobbs running, and that's great. And I know a lot of coaches like having that, extra play extending ability in the backup quarterback position. But Brandon Allen was really, really good last night too. I thought he made the most impressive throw of the day. We're talking about Ronnie Bell. And it wasn't complete. Bell couldn't hold on to it, but they had a deep out. It was covered. Brandon Allen bought some time, and he made the adjustment. He threw the up on the out to the other shoulder of Ronnie Bell, and there was good communication between the two. Bell broke up field. It was the only spot where the throw could go to throw Bell open. He did throw him open, and he couldn't hang on to the football. But I thought, that's not going to show up on the box score, but I thought that was the most impressive throw of the night. That and Dobbs' throw to Jacob Cowing on the pump and go that he just dropped into a bucket. So, we were talking about a month ago, we were talking about, is this 49ers backup quarterback room going to be a liability? Because, they were blessed to have Sam Darnold last year. He signed for too much money for them with Minnesota. He's going to be a starter there this year. We were wondering if it was going to be a severe drop-off. I really think that the last month, the progress of that room should make the 49ers breathe easier about the backup quarterback position. And I think that if any team knows the value of stocking players at the most important position, it's the 49ers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kept all 3 of these guys on the 53-man roster.
49ers got good news regarding Talanoa Hufanga last week. He went down to Southern California, saw a doctor down there, and he got cleared to take it to the next step. But he's not back and practicing with the team, David. And, 2 weeks from right now, just about, they got to come up with a 53-man roster. 3 weeks from tonight, they're playing the Jets in the first game. If Talanoa can't go, we haven't seen him really with a, change of direction movement and all that. So it's a big if right now. That ACL got torn on November the 19th. You wrote a lot about Malik Mustafa today and Renardo Green, but with Mustafa, there may be a role. You got George Odom there, obviously. If Talanoa can't go, you got Jair Brown, who's a second-year safety. It'd be his first full year starting, assuming he gets the job. They wouldn't throw another rookie safety out there and be so young in the deep secondary. How do you see that spot next to Jair Brown shaken down?
I think that George Odom has raised the floor of that backup position over his time with the 49ers. Quite a few interceptions in camp, a couple busts, but one thing that Nick Sorensen, the defensive coordinator, mentioned was that Odom had a bad play in practice about 10 days ago, and then the same opportunity came up a couple days after that, and he corrected it. He corrected the bust, and he's one of the best special teams players in the league. They've been running him alongside Jair as a first-team safety while Talanoa is out, and I think you probably go with the veteran option in that case, and you let Malik Mustafa, who's been really impressive, continue to develop. I see Malik probably taking a similar trajectory as Talanoa Hufanga did in 2021, where by the end of the season, back half of the season, he was forcing the issue, and they were starting to run some 3 safety sets. And that's what's going to be a great ticket for Malik Mustafa, is that he's really, really versatile. He's built like a mini linebacker. He played this position at Wake Forest. They called it the Panther package, where he was all over the field, especially on third downs. And especially once you cut down the roster, I asked Brandon Staley about this, and he said once you cut the roster down to 53 players, it's not a lot. You have to, make the most out of what you have. That's where somebody like Malik Mustafa can really showcase that versatility, and that's when you start to create roles for those types of players. I think that's how he's going to see the field. And, in a pinch, I think that he could do a fine job for the 49ers now, but you don't have to expose yourself to 2 safeties who are that young when you do have a guy like George Odom on the team.
David, great stuff, man. Really appreciate it. Good chatting with you last night. Good chatting with you this morning, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, David Lombardi.